In every season of leadership, life, or transition, things break. Plans, expectations, relationships, sometimes it's even parts of us. This series is about how we choose perspective, anchor ourselves in truth, and live from purpose when things don't go as planned. And today we are starting with perspective because when things break, what you focus on determines how you lead through it. Before we talk about fixing anything, we need to talk about what you're seeing and what you might be missing. If you lead long enough at work, at home, in your family, or in your community, something is going to break. A plan that you worked hard on, a season you expected to last longer, maybe a system that used to work, but suddenly it doesn't. Well, sometimes even the version of yourself that used to carry it all. And when things break, leaders face a moment most people don't talk about, because leadership doesn't stop just because something broke. People are still watching. Decisions still have to be made. The emotional temperature of the room, your home, your team, your relationships, well, it often rises or falls based on you. And in those moments, leaders don't just manage damage, they choose direction. Because what you focus on in the middle of brokenness will quietly shape how you lead everyone who's watching you. Hi, friend. I'm Christina, and I help you align with who you are and move forward with clarity and confidence so that you can lead and live with purpose instead of pressure. And today, we're starting a new series called When Things Break, choosing perspective, truth, and purpose. If you stay with me in this episode, you'll walk away with 3 leadership keys. First one is focus shapes leadership. Then purpose steadies your decisions. And perspective is a choice, not a feeling that you wait for. You see, leadership isn't about having everything fixed or all of the immediate answers. It's about choosing wisely while things are still being restored. A few days ago, I was sitting at my home and I was looking out my window. It was after Winter Storm Fern moved through our area. Everything had been weighed down by the ice. The tree limbs were bent and they looked like they might snap at any moment. And quite a few of them did. There were fences damaged, and pieces of what used to be whole were scattered across the yard. Cleanup had already started, and it wasn't finished. And it wasn't going to be finished quickly either. The brokenness around me was so obvious. And at first, it's all I could see. But then something in me changed. When I shifted my perspective and I began to notice the beauty that surrounded me, the way the ice glistened on the trees, the way the horizon sparkled like diamonds in the sky. Yes, there was so much brokenness, but there was something beautiful even in what was messy. And then a few days later, as the ice began to melt, I looked out again and I noticed that the branches were starting to rise. It didn't happen suddenly or dramatically, and there was no big moment. It was just little by little. As the weight of the ice melted, the branches lifted and their strength returned. Standing there, I realized something really uncomfortable but important. Restoration didn't mean everything went back to how it was. Some things were gone for good. Some damage would take time to clear, and yet life was still rising. And that moment felt familiar, because this is often what leadership looks like, especially for women. You're leading while things are still messy. You're making decisions while you're still processing disappointment. You're holding space for others while quietly carrying your own weight. You don't get to pause leadership just because something broke. And that's where the tension lives. You see, brokenness doesn't automatically mean failure, and restoration doesn't always look like a clean slate. Sometimes it looks like learning how to lead well while the cleanup is still happening. So the real question isn't whether things break, it's what you focus on when they do. So here's the first key I want you to take with you. What you focus on doesn't just affect how you feel, it shapes how you lead. Focus shapes interpretation. Interpretation shapes decisions, and decisions shape the culture that we create and allow. Think about it. If you're constantly focused on what's broken, that focus leaks into your tone, your patience, your presence, and the people around you. Do they feel it? Even if you never say a word. You see, leaders don't ignore what's broken, but they refuse to let brokenness become the loudest voice in the room. And standing in my yard, I had a choice to make. I could rehearse what snapped, focusing on the mess all around me, or I could notice what was still standing, what was rising. You see, both were true, but only one shaped perseverance and hope in me as a leader. So let me ask you this. What are you unintentionally teaching the people you lead to focus on right now? This is where purpose becomes essential. And it's key number 2. When I talk about purpose, I want to be very clear because culture gets this wrong all the time. You see, purpose is not your role, it's not your title, and it is not what you produce. Purpose is the best of what you have to help others and experience fulfillment. And it shapes your core values and beliefs, which means it influences how you make decisions, short-term, long-term, and everything in between. Purpose is what steadies you when circumstances feel unsteady. When things break, purpose doesn't disappear. It brings clarity in the pain that leads to restoration. It shows up in how you respond instead of react, and what you choose to carry and what you release, and where you fix your attention while the outcome is still uncertain. Many women are exhausted, not because they're doing too much, but because they're trying to lead without anchoring their decisions and who they are. And that's not a capacity issue, it's an identity issue. Purpose reminds you, you don't have to prove, you don't have to strive, you don't have to hold everything together by yourself. You lead from purpose, not for it. Let me slow this down for a moment. Right now, what are you focusing on? Are you only seeing what broke? Or are you also noticing what remains? What's quietly rising again in your life, even if it feels slow, fragile, and even unfinished? You see, this isn't about pretending that the damage didn't happen. It's about choosing a perspective that leads forward. And here's the third key. Perspective isn't denial, it's leadership. Perspective is choosing how you see a season before the season defines you. It doesn't rush restoration. It doesn't demand instant clarity. It trusts that strength returns as weight lifts. God is not absent in broken seasons. He works with what remains, and he restores little by little. And he often does his deepest work quietly, long before we see visible results. Just like those branches, no announcement, no rush, just steady renewal. And one day you realize you're standing straighter than before. Over the next few weeks, we're going to keep building on this together. We'll talk about perspective, what you're focusing on, truth, that story that you're telling yourself under pressure, and purpose, how you lead forward from who you are, not from what broke. Because leadership isn't about having everything fixed. It's about choosing wisely while things are still being restored. So let's recap the 3 keys from today. Focus shapes our leadership. Purpose steadies your decisions. And perspective is a choice, not a feeling that you wait for. In life and leadership, you can't move forward while looking backward. Friend, if this resonated with you, stay with me in this series and comment below with something beautiful you noticed this week. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Next time, we're going to talk about the weight you can't see. How toxic thoughts quietly exhaust us, and why awareness is the first step toward freedom. You don't have to rush the cleanup process. You just have to choose where you focus. This season doesn't get the final word. Purpose does.